Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about composting. My title is Why Compost? So, selecting a compost method. There are 5 different methods for selecting a compost bin, and these are holding units, turning units, heaps, soil incorporation, and worm composting. Really, the method of composting that you select will just depend on when you want to finish your compost, like your desired time, the materials to be composted, and the space available for your compost. So, what's in the actual compost? Compost is an organic material that can be added to soil to help plants grow. So usually you'll see food scraps and yard waste that will be added to a compost, and that by itself makes up more than 30% of what we throw away and could be composted instead. So that's telling you a lot, like your food waste and everything. Some composting basics. So there's 3 main ingredients whenever you want to make a compost, and that consists of your browns, greens, and your water. So your browns are going to be materials such as dead leaves, branches, and twigs. Your greens are going to be materials such as grass clippings, vegetable waste, fruit scraps, and coffee grinds. And your water is just there to provide moisture to help break down the organic matter. In the picture on the right, you'll see like a little diagram of a compost, and the compost pile should have an equal number of browns to greens, and you should alternate layers of the materials. So like, see how the diagram had like brown, green, brown, green, brown, green, brown, green, brown, and you also want to make sure that there's no food showing on the top layer, so just cover it with a layer of brown. Okay, what goes into the compost? So like some examples of what you can put into a compost are fruits and vegetables, eggshells, coffee grounds and filters, tea bags, nutshells, shredded newspaper, cardboard, paper, yard trimmings, grass clippings, houseplants, hay and straw, leaves, sawdust, wood chips, cotton and wool rags, hair and fur, and fireplace ashes. Some items that should not be composted include plastics, grease, glass, and metals. These things like plastic utensils, plastic packages, plastic wrap, plastic bags, foil, silverware, drinking straws, bottles, and chemicals. Some things that could be added to a compost that people don't really know about are things like red meat, bones, and small amounts of paper are acceptable, but they do take longer to decompose. Whenever you add red meat and bones to a compost pile, this will avoid attracting vermin, pests, and insects to partially decomposed meat scraps. Okay, so how does composting limit food waste? So whenever you compost, you are using yard waste and food waste to create a product that can help improve soils, grow the next generation of crops, and improve water quality. According to EPA, they estimated that in 2018, 2.6 million tons of food that were wasted food was composted. And that's equivalent to 0.42 pounds per person per day for composting. But how does it limit food waste? So composting helps reduce solid waste disposable fees. It helps in wasting large quantities of recyclable raw ingredients. Educates customers on the benefits of food waste composting. Markets your establishment as environmentally conscious. Markets your establishment as one that assists local farmers in the community. Composting helps close the food waste loop by returning it back to agriculture. And composting reduces the need for more landfill space. What is the impact on the food system? So as we can kind of gather that the food system tends to create a lot of food waste. Again, composting helps make the food system more sustainable. Whenever we think about the food system, there are pre-consumer, and pre-consumer food waste is the easiest way to compost because it is simply the preparatory food refuse and diminished quality bulk raw material food that has never been seen by the actual consumer. So this food waste is generally already separated from the rest of the waste stream. So there's no need for change to keep contaminants out of the future compost. And then we have post-consumer food waste. This is a little bit more challenging because of separation issues. It's simply the table scrap food refuse, and often the consumer is done with the food and waste is subject to contaminants, and a decision has to be made on how to separate food from other wastes. This can be done by having an extra trash can that would only be used for food waste. Either the kitchen staff or the consumer can separate it depending on the flexibility and the atmosphere of their situation, like at home or their business. But it can be done. Again, we're still relating to the food system. This is just talking about benefits of composting to the environment, and these benefits to the environment include water and soil conservation, avoids methane production and formation in landfills by diverting organics from landfills into compost. Off-farm materials can be brought in and added to manure to make compost. And it facilitates reforestation, wetlands restoration, and wildlife habitat efforts by amending contaminated, compacted, and marginal soils. This is, again, the food system, and it's just talking about benefits of compost to agriculture. And these benefits include reducing fertilizer requirements, increasing earthworm populations in soil. It provides slow, gradual release of nutrients, reducing loss from contaminated soils. Composting reduces water requirements and irrigation, and it provides opportunity for extra income. High quality compost can be sold at a premium price in established markets, and it brings a higher price for organically grown crops. And these are my sources that I used, and that is about it. Thank you so much for listening to Why We Should Compost.